You're listening to the Motivated Mindset Podcast with Bobby Stein.
Hey, I'm Scott Fisk from Studio 669 and the founder of IAIM, a purpose-built creative community. And I am here with Bobby Stein from the Motivated Mindset Podcast.
Hello, my name is Bobby Stein, your host of the Motivated Mindset Podcast, where I share candid conversations with extraordinary folks from all walks of life to discover just what motivates their mindset. Welcome in and thanks for listening. Hey there, everybody. It's Bobby with the Motivated Mindset Podcast, and I hope that wherever you're watching or listening today that you're doing absolutely dandy. And today we have a special treat. That's right, the first time ever a trifecta, a three-peat, third-time offender onto the podcast. Gentleman is an outstanding individual. He's an entrepreneur. He's an illustrator. He's the founder of Studio 669 and the new platform IAIM, which we're going to learn all about. Visionary, full of energy, passionate, loves the human connection, just an all-around great guy. So please welcome into the show Scott Fisk, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Scott, I understand you're under some snow.
Yeah. I live in Vermont, and we have these beautiful metal roofs that make sure that nothing stays up there because, asphalt shingles would just be a tragedy. We have had an incredible winter up here. February decided to show up in December. And we're getting a triple dip of fun. So the snow is deep.
So tell me, the roofs are like, they're metal. What is almost like it acts like Teflon then, right? So
yeah. I mean, like you remember those? Well, you and I are at the same age. You remember those metal slides on the playground that would like really burn your skin, and you had to really shake a leg? Like you almost kind of like, that's what our roofs are like. So I have snow behind me on the other side of this window, and it's quite deep, but it's because of everything that sheds off the roof. And my youngest fellow, my boy, my son, he'll climb up there and he'll right down off and right out into the snow, right off the roof. It's a Red Bull moment.
X Games in Vermont. That's outstanding. Well, for everybody who has not listened to the previous two episodes, why don't you get us caught up? I'd like to learn about the essentially Studio 669. What kind of got you? How'd you get started in the design and branding industry and illustration? You went to school for that. Maybe share a little bit about that, and then how you got to where you are today with regards to illustration and setting up that studio.
Yeah, for sure. Studio 669 is about 2 decades old now. And
congrats.
Yeah, it's still swinging for the fences, man.
Nice.
The game is not won in the bleachers, it's won down on the field.
Amen.
And I've struck out a lot. And I've had my butt handed to me a lot. But anybody that's out there that really has that chase inside of them, I mean, we're just wired for the chase. And, even in those moments that were really rough, it's one of those, giving up is not an option. And in the past 2 decades, everybody knows about like getting business started. You go and you grab the low hanging fruit, and that's what it's all about. But you and I come from an era of, we know what the warm introduction is, and we know what a Rolodex is. A Rolodex is, you pack your Rolodex. I have a golden one, and it's packed with incredible assets. You're in that Rolodex. And when you foster relationships, we're not talking about Electrolux salesmen knocking on your door and saying cold call, pitching, and all of that. We're talking about long game, because eventually you run out of the low-hanging fruit, right? And you need to start building a ladder. And you build a ladder through building relationships. And when there's a warm introduction and someone does a meet and greet and they introduce you to somebody else because you did well with them, working on a project with them, and then they hand you off to somebody else, it's just, it rolls. And, and in that time and in these years, all of this time, I talk about building this ladder, but sometimes I shouldn't say sometimes, if you handle it right, you end up with projects that you didn't know they even made a ladder for. But it comes from a posture of earning it. It comes from a grateful heart. It comes from sweat equity, and it comes from just cutting your teeth, right? So for every win, there's 20 fails. But when you are presented with these elevator up, penthouse suite type projects, you've worked it for such a long time that you're professionally postured and ready when those things show up.
Sure, you built that foundation, and it wasn't for lack of effort at the outset. But I like what you said about gratitude. Go on about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, a humble posture,
Yeah.
humility. I don't mean humility like you're saying a speech in your underwear, up on a stage. I mean that's humility, right? But I talk about humility in the sense of just your posture being right. Egos checked at the door. I have a lot of people in my industry that, really got it together, and they would walk into a room and you would never know it, right? Because you tell people who you are by what you produce and how you carry yourself. We also have people that we've known in our careers, you and I both. You've been in rooms where someone will walk in and they pull all the air out of the room. You know what I'm talking about. I remember I'll never forget this one, and I've used it. I want to leave the air behind me clear. Never forget that. Amen is right. Sometimes you just throw something against the wall and you know what? It just sticks. I've used that. Now, I never pretended it was my own, but I've used it. But yes, a humble posture. I think that we all need to have skin in the game. And when you have the skin in the game, or even when you strike out on an opportunity, it's not that you struck out and you failed. The failure is never even going up to the plate in the first place, right? So being willing to strike out and be the fool and be willing to be the fool until you're not the fool anymore. But at the end of the day, who the hell cares?
Exactly.
Right? So do what you've got to do. Don't sell your soul, but do what you got to do to get it right. And if you're looking for those opportunities as they come along, or when those opportunities are presented to you, take a minute, sit in it, be really, really grateful. And we can talk about my whole partner client thing, because I got a whole thing about that. We'll get to that later. But just be ready for it. Sit in it in a moment, reflect on it, be grateful, and then get after it.
I love that. There's a new one I heard today, actually, Scott. It was, and backing up to leave the air behind you clear. That came from a song, an Incubus song. And, and I plagiarized it. And of course I utilized that, but, I forget where I was going on this, but I love your mind, your attitude and your mindset. What motivates your mindset? You're only a failure if you don't try. What's Wayne Gretzky say? We miss 100% of the shots we don't take.
Yeah.
And so, we really have to get up to the plate, get the bat off our shoulders, take a few pokes at it, take a few swings, and we're going to strike out. We're going to whiff. We're going to walk. We're going to get hit by a pitch. Sometimes we're going to be sent back to the bench, but it's our head space that dictates the outcome in future events, which lays the groundwork for another opportunity to get the bat off your shoulder. So I'm really appreciative that you brought that up. I love your humble spirit. And when you have that attitude of gratitude, I mean, if you don't have gratitude for the things that you have, the things that you've earned, hard-earned, and cut your teeth on, what makes, the Lord on high say, I'm going to give you another shot, right? So be grateful for what you have, and that which you have will be multiplied. But if you're not grateful for what you have, that what you have could be stripped away, and that sucks, man.
Yeah, well, it's so this is what I'm loving about you and I doing this video, and to everybody that's watching, Bobby and I, this is our third time doing this, but we were doing these pre what we're doing right now, where it was just, speaking on the telephone, podcast back and forth.
Yeah.
So Bobby, is just really great to be like flesh to flesh through a screen. But the attitude of gratitude is so true. And, like when we talk about the strikeouts and the home runs and Babe Ruth pointing out before he was going to send that ball, he did that with confidence, but he did it because he'd already lost it all and just learning, right? And when he got to that moment, or, we can even use like a football thing, like how many fumbles down the field to get to that touchdown, how the whole it's not a me, it's a we mindset. Because you and I both know what it is to send the elevator down. I've had the elevator sent down to me in terms of an opportunity. I've also had the joy of sending the elevator down to somebody who, you know where I'm going with that.
Paying it forward. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. But you don't just give that to anybody. What you do, you can't. I'm always on a hunt for the humble posture. And I mean, I'm going to say this, and this sounds maybe kind of weird, but like, it's not about the money. And what I mean by that is, yeah, I run a 6-figure business. That's not what drives me. The chase drives me. But to get the 6-figure business requires 87-figure relationships. Mm-hmm. I didn't get here on my own. I got here on my own by proper introductions. Mean what you say what you mean. Under promise, over deliver. And be really flipping grateful about it, right? Yeah.
So tell me, you're telling me that the overnight success story was 20 years in the making and then some.
Yeah, the overnight success was 20 years. You go to bed, you wake up, and you've arrived. But yeah, it happened. That part happened overnight.
Yeah, that's so true about Babe Ruth too. I think he led the league in strikeouts as well.
Yeah, but he got up there courageous. Like he got up there like, I'm gonna put it right out there, and I'm gonna point, and I'm gonna psych y'all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish I was around to see that. That would have been something else. Something tells me though that if he stood up against one of the major league pitchers today who, throw 101 miles per hour fastball, I don't know if he'd be getting around on one of them.
Yeah, he'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all speaking of things being relevant. Tell me, Scott, you recently founded a platform, and I see it all over because you're all about the human connection. Mm-hmm. The platform called IAIAM. I'd like
to... Yeah, you can call it that.
Yeah?
Sure. Yeah, well, you can IAIAM or IAIAM, whatever, but it's the letters IAIAM.
Which stand for what?
All right. I had this real clever moment, right?
An epiphany?
Yeah. First off, backing up, before I even had a name, there was this void, right? A void. And sometimes you have to make what you need. Sometimes you have to build what you need. I've been in this for a real long time, but there's something special about when you're with other artists. Now, just because another person's an artist doesn't mean you're going to jive with them, because again, they're just like any people. You can be around some and they suck the air out of the room, right? But when you can be with people that are on the same AM dial as you, and they're speaking your language, well, that's really fantastic. And community does that. So we are also living in this world where we're being pinched with AI, artificial intelligence, generative AI, all the visuals. And I am not an AI, so let's say AI, I am an IA. And what's an I? Get it? IA, I am. And when I had that, I'm like, how come no one's done AI, IA? How come no one's flipped it yet? No one on the whole blue dot called Earth, right? I immediately talked to one of my buddies. I had him sign a non-doc first. It's not because I didn't trust him, but I'm like, we're going to sign a non-doc first so I can just spitball with you freely. And he's like, how fast can you get that trademark? And I really fast. So, it is. But that wasn't the purpose. The purpose is the AI is everywhere. We see it everywhere. We see it on our social platforms where people are starting to stick everything on autopilot and then preach authenticity while their chat GPT writes it out for them.
And transparency and authenticity. And
yeah, well, you and I both, I've had posts where I put them up and all of a sudden you get these interesting, valid, all these little one-word things or just wordsmithing built off. It's all an algorithm. So it's like, let my bot talk to your bot as the human connection leaves the room. And I don't want that. So one of the things with building this space, and you'll have people that say, you can't do that. Well, yes, I can, because I built it. It's mine. I'm the host. It's a generative AI free zone, like not even AI profile pictures like we see. A Polaroid, we accept Polaroids. So you can use a Polaroid.
Gotta shake it first.
Yeah, shake it first. But, we use you and I are using AI right now. We're using it as a superpower. We're using it to have this interview. So, like, for me to say you can't have it, that's not, I'd be a hypocrite. It's here. We can use it for good. It's when the human connection leaves the room that's bad. But I want to celebrate the human right down to the Neanderthal doing cave prints, right? Like the human doing this. So that's what we are inside of IAM. And, sculptors, industrial designers, illustrators like me, tattoo artists, mural artists. I'm still hoping to get some graffiti artists, but it's really nice when everybody just gets together and celebrates being human and putting our projects out there in front of one another where everybody gets it and everybody understands.
I love that it's a collaboration, and it's almost like a mastermind too, because there's a lot of constructive going on, and that human element, that connection is there. So it's not being, the criteria isn't running through some algorithm, like you say, or anything. It's definitely got, opinions behind it, and tweak this, do that. But so as far as I had an opportunity to do an introduction for another podcast venture that I'm involved with.
Yeah.
And the temptation was, and I actually investigated. I'll be frank. It was AI, and you could pick out male, female, any age demographic, any accent, whether it be British, Australian, UK, American, but it just, I know they're getting so, it's coming around. I mentioned in a recent episode in a conversation I had whereby I said, it's just by the virtue of texting, a voice text, and you use the vernacular, yo dude, or hey man, or what's up bro. Well, that's all being collected and integrated, and it's going to come out. But as we stand right now, it is really darn close. I chose and opted for the real voice, and it's a friend of ours that Sarah, over in the UK. She was Sarah Starling.
Yeah.
But I looked at this other stuff, and it just wasn't the same. And when you are out in front and you're preaching the things that you are teaching and saying authenticity and transparency and stuff, and yet you
better mean it when you say that word. That is not something you just no.
It's not loose banter. And,
well, at least not in this house. It's not.
Yeah, and I subscribe to that school. I'm with you. I mean, listen, I don't want to get all emotional with a bot. I just don't. Now, if it can streamline a process or something like that, kind of like, a wrench leverages off a nut whereby my bare hand wouldn't do it, then I'm all in. But just for the sake of using it, man, I don't know.
No, I mean, like I have, I'm an illustrator, right? My main business, Studio 669. IAIM is a pivot. IAIM is a void that I needed because I wanted to be in a spot where other people were doing what I was doing, and we got it. There's nothing wrong with open networks. I flexed the crap out of LinkedIn, and I flex Facebook, but also in my feed is not only an artist, which are very few. There might be a cooking recipe, or there might be somebody doing some banter on politics, or just a whole bunch of crap that I just don't want. So private communities, not just mine, private communities are the new Wild West. People that really want it, it's kind of like a gym membership. You want to go to the gym because it's subscription based. They're not free. But what's beautiful is when you get in there, when we congregate, we accelerate. And that was something that I came up with. And I'm like, well, it's true, right? But it removes all of the friction, and in all of these communities, there's different guidelines. Like the only flag that we wave inside of that community is the IAIM flag. There are zero politics. There's no red. There's no blue. There's white. Everybody's white, right? Because the commonality is we start looking at the three on the open networks. You're paying attention to the 3% that pisses everybody off, whereas there's 97% of us that's pretty flippin' rad. So let's focus on the 97%, not the 3%, right? And what's beautiful about building that community is there is an expectation and there is a code of conduct, not just speaking for my community, for any community. And if you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to join. It's like going to a gym. Well, I don't like hot Pilates. Well, then don't take that class. I personally have never done those. It just fell off of my mouth.
Sounds uncomfortable.
Maybe.
When you have a subscription-based scenario that's a closed-circuit TV almost, right?
Sure.
In terms of community, it's when it's subscription-based, when we pay, we pay attention.
Yeah, people pay attention to what they pay for. If you were given a free membership in a gym, you'd be like, man, maybe I'll show up, maybe I won't. But if you're given a 2-week introductory offer, and we'll even create a plan for you, and then you come in and let's get going, well, you're going to show up, right? Yeah.
And excited to show up, and excited to learn, share, and grow together. I like the fact that it's a human-based, a human situation. Circling back to that other platform that you're flexing with, LI, it's gotten to the point where, it's no wonder that somebody like yourself came along and is forging their territory in the Wild West. There's no wonder. You're right. And when you introduce politics, everything seems to be about a dividing line. You're either left, right, black, white, up, down. It's a split and a division, and far and few between are the places that entertain coalition and community and foster that genuine spirit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And LinkedIn, there are creatives on there. There's not a lot of creatives on there. It's not really designed for creatives, but for myself with Studio 669, I've landed, I don't want to call it a whale. I'm a whale. What's a whale? But, I've had some really big stuff come down the line through LinkedIn because you show up. If you're going to show up, show up. And I didn't work so hard to be sloppy and do any wet cracker posting on there. So yeah, I love to share process. And sometimes I love to share thought. And just like today, I put up a promo about my community. And what's really interesting about that, like when I talk about it being the Wild West, is this whole community thing, I didn't even know what it was I needed. All I knew is that there was a void inside of me, and I felt this urgency that I needed to do something. But when I found out about community, and I work with a host site that has all proprietary software, and that's exactly what they're for, to build communities, right? You inject your own ingredients into their mixing bowl and you launch your community.
Outstanding.
So the technology wasn't there when I had this void, and this isn't, we're not talking a Slack channel or Google Hangouts or Rooms or whatever any of that other stuff is. This is not that. So all you can tell a person is if they don't know about a community is just when you find one and it suits you, it's going to fit you like a pressed suit,
Yeah, I agree. Wonderful stuff, man. Find a void and fill it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Cause we're all like pails with holes in the bottom, right? We need constant filling.
I am speaking with the one and only, the visionary, the thought leader, Scott Fisk. And you can find Scott and more about his findings over at studio669.net and over at the IAIM platform, where it is subscription based. But the good news, and we'll let Scott do a little promo later on, a further promo, I should say, is that it is subscription based, but there's a 2-week trial period. So get your feet wet. You don't have to jump all the way in over your head. Test the waters. No harm, no foul, no obligation. But I got a funny feeling and a sneaky suspicion that once you lay your taste buds to it, you're going to enjoy it. So you had interviewed a guy on that platform, or at least he was interviewing you. I saw a post where you made, and he was discussing mental health.
Yes.
What is it that artists seem to have this? That they have I don't want to say a discrepancy or something, but we're all a little bit off, right?
Sure.
What is the important, and what is the maintenance factor, and how did this gentleman find his way into your life, and what was the conversation all about?
Man, I love that you just asked this question. This fellow's name is Rich Wright, and he's another creative. And one of the things that we do inside of IAIM, first off, community is we, not me. And I put it out to the community that I would love to start interviewing community members, like how you and I are doing right now. And everybody else gets to sit off in the chat box, and they get to question, and I get to moderate. I'm the host. And
Wonderful.
Yeah, I love it,
It's
Bobby. I
fun,
really
right?
do. It's very rewarding.
It shows. You're good at it. It shows.
Well, I was always told that I have a voice for radio, but I don't know if I got a face to go with it. But we'll go with the voice for it.
Why do you think I'm behind the mic?
I can put myself behind a black curtain. But
Exactly.
but when it comes to being a creative, mental health is a serious thing, and it's not just creatives; it's everywhere. It's got nothing. It's not just a creative thing. But as a creative, and like in that interview, I posted some teaser snips, but the full plays are inside of the community. So when members miss the live, they can come back and watch it. But and I'll only speak to my truth, but come to find out, it's a lot of other creatives' truths too. As a creative, as an artist, we wear our insides on the outside.
Hard on your sleeve.
Sure, sure. And you try to cover it up, but it's still, when we're doing this, it's an organic extension of ourself. Now, just like designing a piece of artwork, if I were to start it a minute earlier or a day later, it's even influenced by the music I listen to, it's going to look different.
Let me take a sidebar.
Sure.
I've got a friend. He's a fine artist. He paints abstract along the Picasso lines. I interviewed him on a podcast. Kendrick Short. Kendrick Short, his name is. Wonderful individual. He's a throwback to the 60s. In fact, he was out in, Haight-Ashbury and all that kind of stuff. And he befriended members of the rock group, The Band.
Okay.
And so he's done work for some of their members, Robbie Robertson and the others. But he'll put on a soundtrack as he starts to paint and through a project, and he will only listen to that LP, that long-playing album, over and over, and that vibe from that particular album, he feels, resonates and exudes itself onto the canvas. And he says, now, another project may be somebody else, but he believes he doesn't want to sit down, start, and then listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which has one vibe, and then go over to the Foo Fighters, who has another vibe. And I thought that was interesting. So we'll dovetail, circle back to what you were saying.
No, keep going, because I could have a talk with this guy.
I want to turn you on to him. He's a wonderful individual.
Like those are things that are real that happen in these community things. I've got one guy. He's a senior designer for Stellantis, right? He worked on all the Hellcats, right? But he's also talking to a guy that's an industrial designer who works with CAD, that worked with Jaguar. Or let's rewind it and go backwards to a guy that does lettering on gassers. And also on the opposite side, he's a full-blown destination tattoo artist. Like, put us all in a blender, set us to whip. So even though your friend does abstract, it doesn't mean that my eyes don't know how to look at it, right? Because, and he would find comfort. I'm not saying he would find comfort, but I'm thinking that he would find comfort in being in a house like this, because when we're exposed to even more ingredients in that big blender, but we're all from the same drink. Does that make sense?
Same church, different pew. This guy's a fantastic individual. I will connect you to. I think you'd hit it off famously. That. And getting back, and then we'll get back again. So as before we go too far down the rabbit hole, that is one good. There are some positive things to the platforms. In particular LinkedIn that we're talking about. That's where you and I met. And I've met countless wonderful connections and had wonderful conversations with many of the folks there. So the mental health part. So you put on the music when you were endeavoring on an illustration piece. Oh, and real quickly, gassers, my all-time favorites. Love them. Love the Willys, love the Chevys, love the Fords. All of them, the gassers are the best in the drag strip, bar none, period. End of story. And if you want to talk about anything else, I'm closed.
Yeah. When I interviewed Rich, he also has his own community that he's building, and he actually did a 2.5 hour interview on me. We did a video just like this, and he started me out at a very young age, and we unpacked my whole story, and it wasn't Scott Fisk from Studio 669. It wasn't Scott from IAIM. It was Scott, the creative, and mental health did come up. And what's really nice about him that I appreciated is it's real. And denying that it exists doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? it is the elephant in the room. Actually, it's the buffalo in the room. It's, the elephant with the trumpet, the buffalo that's going to headbutt you. It's there and it's real. And but it's more than just being an artist. He also brought up, just what it is to be a man, and as a man, and how we are postured, how we are to keep our stuff under our roof, stiff upper lip, fix your own stuff. Sharing with another person is weakness. Actually, it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. I'm telling you, I spent a lot of my life thinking it was, and it's not. When you can find your person, your people that say, I hear you, I see you, I understand. It's not that they're going to take away or wave a wand over you, but they're willing to walk with you, and there's no judgment. And I want you to tell me when you're flopping on the beach. So, like with him, I remember telling him or listening to him during his interview in my community, and I commended him for his bravery, because if anybody knows anything about trauma, talk therapy can be trigger therapy. So you need to know how to co-regulate a person when you're speaking with them, or they need to have the skills to self-regulate. So one of his things that he does is he will talk his trauma, right? He will talk his life to people. And I said, how do you disconnect that and have those conversations without re-triggering yourself? I find that very, very selfless, to be able to talk about your stuff, to expose yourself over and over again to service another person. I think that's very incredible. But because he's a creative, he's turned that into the creative, right? Think about, like, I mean, not to be all stereotype, but, think about like Van Gogh cutting his ear off, or a plethora of other artists that struggled, or poets that wrote real sad stuff because they were just like losing it, right? We just live, artists, just creatives, just live a real transparent life. What?
Well, do me a favor. Check your mic there a second. Because going.
Okay. Is it going in and out?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. No, but I love what you're talking about, and I think it's courageous. I think that it's there's no apologies.
That's right.
We all struggle with this, whether you're creative or not. And you alluded to the term earlier, superpower. I like to think of my fragility in terms of the mental arena as my superpower.
Sure.
It's part of the uniqueness that, I have and each of us carry. And whether we embrace it or try to, smother it under Big Pharma's, prescriptions, the choice is ours. I mean, we try to mitigate it as best we can because we have to function in a day-to-day world, but it's very real. And I do think that, when men express themselves and share their stories and soften that upper lip a little bit, I think that it goes a long way to the healing process. And hey, man, it's just, it's part of life. It's part of who we are. It's part of our makeup, our DNA, and our character. No apologies, man, and very courageous.
No.
Rick is very courageous. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was really rad. I mean, I interviewed him, and the comment stream was blowing up, and I love that because everybody in the community gets a front row seat. Like, bring your flippin' Cracker Jacks. This is all a part of your subscription, right? There's no upcharge. Everybody inside of the community has full access right out of the gate. I mean, even profile to profile is chat to chat. Some communities lock down the chat because they want all of your communication out front for everybody to see. I want these people to go in there and maybe even get a return on their investment. If there's an opportunity to network, I want them to have it. But to speak to Rich, I did an interview the following 2 weeks after that. And I'm an empath. He's an empath too. Anybody who knows what an empath is, they know what an empath is. But one of the guys we were interviewing, I could tell he was hurting. And no sooner did we get off of that interview, Rich and I, he has, we have each other's bat phone numbers, and got right off of the live, and he gave me a call, and he says, do you think I'd be overstepping if I reached out to so-and-so? Because he was really hurting. And I said, I don't mind that at all. And he says, what would you think if maybe in the future we visited something like that where we could have a closed group, no recording, closed group, where we could throw this stuff out there and we could chat if anybody had something they wanted to in a safe place.
Get off their chest, yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't know that stuff. So so what I'm getting at is we're flying the plane as we build it. The beautiful thing about a community is right now it's living and breathing without me. It doesn't need me there. Building a community is like me building a house party. I invite all the guests. Everybody brings something special. So this particular guy, he's willing to be like, what if we do like a safety check once a month? Just check in on the community. That's a real nice way to show one another that we care. Because being out on these open platforms and saying, hey, check out my artwork, and then you get a bunch of people that maybe don't know what they're looking at, but they're putting in their 3 cents, right? Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not great. But to be able to have this space where we can really get after it, I would say let's get after it. And like building this community, I knew I needed this, but it's everything that it's a lot of what I thought it was going to be, and it's a lot of I had no clue. But wow, how great is this?
It's been a pleasant surprise.
Because people truly rally. And yeah, we pay attention to what we're paying for, but it's really inexpensive.
It transcends that. It really does.
I mean, it's like how much, you go to Starbucks and you buy yourself your $4 coffee every day. Do the math. I promise it's cheaper than a cup of coffee every day. But I mean, I'm using that as an example.
Sure.
People are like, well, I don't want to go without my coffee. All right, go without your coffee. But I'm just saying that there's more. It's more than I put some artwork up here, check it out. It's about everybody is genuinely talking. I've got one guy there that joined the community, and I actually gave him a scholarship. I gave him a scholarship because I knew it would be good for his soul. And you know what? This is counter to pay attention to what you're paying for. He's on scholarship. You know what scholarship means, right? He's my biggest contributor. He loves it. He's like carpet bombing the damn community all the time. Like, slow down, man. Slow down. But, and it's good for his soul. Because, and he's a top contributor. Like, right out at first, he's like, I don't know. I said, I want you there, and listen, if you don't end up liking it, no skin. But my heart tells me that it would be good for you. And I don't have some savior complex. I'm just telling you that, Bobby. I don't. But you can't unsee something. You can't unfeel something.
What I like is that your talents, gifts, and abilities, right? They are really the calling card, or now you do it as a profession and a vocation, and it feeds the family, and it's a passion of yours and a labor of love. 20 plus years, you went to school for it. But you get these folks of intrigue, and then you give them a peek behind the curtain with this other platform, and it far outpaces any monetary or value that you can get or may have been afforded with somebody looking and appreciating your artwork. So it's a win-win, really.
It is. I mean, I run my business full time. I have an apparel line also, Go Fast Apparel. There's a lot of moving parts, but what was always missing is a constant, steady flow of community. So when I'm working with a partner, let's say you and I are working on a project, you're not my client, you're my partner. But when we're working, we're having this community while we're working together.
Dialogue.
If I do it right, someone's going to say, Bobby, that design is so cool. And you're going to say to Frank, you're going to be like, I worked with this guy, Scott.
Naturally. And it'll roll off your tongue. I mean, naturally.
Well, there's the warm introduction. And what I want Frank to do when I'm done working with him is I want him to reach out and tell you, that guy, Scott, thank you for turning me on to him. What I don't want coming out of his mouth is that guy, Scott, he was wet crackers. What were you thinking? Because you know what Bobby does then? Bobby never gives Scott a referral again. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's like everybody is everybody in that Rolodex. And that Rolodex even goes into this community. So even with these artists, I'm not just trying to promote myself. I'm promoting them. I promote that community all the time now, which is weird. On my own personal pages, I'm talking about other artists. Like, I'm giving them a soapbox also. Right?
There's a saying by Zig Ziglar that says...
he's full of good ones.
One that sticks with me is if you help enough people get what they want, you can have whatever you want.
Sure.
And it doesn't say that you do it... It's not like giving to get, but it's just the joy of giving, and then the fruits of that, and it's not even an effort, cascade backwards onto you, where it's like I could have never predicted or imagined or foreseen this return on my quote unquote investment.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so good.
Cool beans.
So good. And I think community is real. I mean, I've got a daughter, she's 11, and she's a creative. And that's another community vibe line. We have guidelines. I call them vibe lines. Is it's a PG rated community. So even when we're interviewing, I'm not saying we don't get a little off script. I mean, it's live and then it's recorded and I can edit later. But I want my daughter to be able to go and see that space. It's easy to be scandalous and slanderous and talk like, I love being a pirate, but I don't need to cuss to be one. I love being an outlier, but I don't need to be 80 grit sandpaper. So it was really important to me that, in those vibe lines that it is a PG rated, because I can draw anything, I can create anything. Most of these creatives can too, but there are niche fetish communities for things like that. You understand what I'm saying? It's not in ours. And my daughter enjoys looking at it, and she wants to know when she can join. And I said, when you're 18, you can join. And what I love about the community is this can become a legacy. And what I mean, I can hand the keys to her. I have an older son who's 26, and he's a part of the community, but right now he's doing his own thing. But this is something that I can hand the keys to and give to somebody else. It can be here when I'm not here anymore.
Well, what it is, it's a virtual photo album. So right. It's recorded, it's transcribed. I wish my grandfather, both of them. I wish my parents, so that I had more to reach back on. Thank God for memory, right? Certain memories, but you know what I mean. But it's truly a legacy. So with regards to the mental health, so I just find that so intriguing that you say it's the buffalo and the elephant in the room, and yet everybody, to a man, everybody struggles with something. Just because it's invisible and you're not walking around with a cast on your foot and crutches doesn't mean that you're not ailing on some level internally. And that's what I like about where you can bring that to the fore, address it unashamedly, and have resolution and compassion. That to me is just great, and we'll move forward. But I just thought that
we can sit here as long as you want, and that's what's beautiful. It's just like you and I right now. We're not reading off of a script. I don't have anything here, and neither do you. We're just navigating and driving this adventure in real time. We don't even have a Rand McNally, right? So I knew you'd get that. So it's like when I was having that conversation with Rich, but I can speak me because I give myself permission to speak about me and my journey. But I mean, I'll give you a little blip. One of the things that I shared with him is being a creative. This is like lipstick off. This is just being real. I think you'll appreciate this. And I really don't worry about another human judging me. I've got one judge. But I can tell you that being a creative, being an artist saved my life. I lost my mom when I was very, very young, and therapy was something you just didn't know about, right? And I was in a world that was out of my control where I had no say. Now, I'm not playing my violin. Everybody's suffered loss. I'm just speaking to my own loss, because even though I lost her when I was 8 years old, as far as I'm concerned, she's a hero. She's a badass. But art saved me because it gave me a place to go to that I could own, and that was my own. I could open up the door, walk in, shut the door behind me, and create. Now, I can tell you this all of these years later, but I can tell you that when I was 8 years old, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I know is that I was going to this place that made me feel good. I was doing art therapy. Before it was a word.
Before it was in vogue, yeah. Before it was even a thing.
We can label anything. I'm just telling you, it was a real ugly time, and blah, 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 blah. But I look back now, and I'm really grateful I had that. So maybe that's where it comes to even today, talking about not a client, but a partner. Because I'll be honest with you, I built my company 20 years ago. Again, just being real. I built it out of fight or flight. It came down to, you need to take this thing that was always yours in this special little room, and you need to open it up, and you need to welcome people in, because you need to do this for pay now, right? It wasn't about making six figures. Shit, I know how to live on $12,000. So if you give me 60, it might as well be 600. You know what I'm saying? So that's, again, the conditioning, the posture, the cut your teeth, pay your dues, blah, 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 build ladders. But it was really, really delicate, and I was really mindful, like, how do you take something so special and expose it to everybody? I mean, those are your guts, right? Well, you take it, you do it by interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, and have them ride shotgun and bring them to this fantastic world and let them enjoy the heck out of it. Because a partner, they hire you because you have a skill set they don't possess. So when you bring them in, let it be a wild ride. So Bobby's hair's all messy when we're all done. He's like, holy crap, that was fun. Can't wait to do it again. But you have to be really intentional with that, because it's a very special place to me. It's not a place to be sloppy. It's not a place that gets wrecked. It's the safe place. So I bring my people that I work with in there. So that's why it's a partnership. Shotgun, riding shotgun.
I love it. I love it, dude. I love that. Yeah, I think that that was your safe place. And I think as we get older and mature and life kind of hits us and responsibilities and everything, I think many times folks, and myself included to some degree, detach from that, and that can be detrimental. And it's only when we reconnect we find that special place and say, man, that's kind of like, I think I found my groove, my purpose. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I've got, my 11-year-old daughter, she says to me, she goes, Daddy, I love it when she calls me Daddy. I like it when she calls me Rad Dad. I'd rather be a rad dad than a bad dad, because when you're a bad dad, you're a sad dad. And being rad ain't no fad, and I'll tell them all this stuff.
Don't make me mad.
Don't make me mad. But what I tell her is that she wants to know she'll be one when she grows up. And I said, here's the thing, honey. I said, even if you don't do this at a professional level, know that it is special to you, because there are a lot of adults that have nothing special. So if you can have this as your safe place after a real hard day, and you can go do some self-soothing and be a creative, I don't care if you're basket weaving, working with your markers. That's what she's an illustrator. She's great, because that's what I do, right? But if you can have a space to call your own, I don't care what you're doing, but as long as you have a constructive outlet, and if it's art, good, but make sure you treat it with care, because too many people out there run to the bottle or run to drugs, or there's just, right? Now, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything. There was a time when I did all of those things. Clarity is my drug.
How great is that?
Well, but it came after a lot of tornadoes and storms. I can just say that I'm here now, and being sober is my drug of choice, and I'm much better at what I do. I'm a much better creative.
It's amazing.
I'm tapping to that 8-year-old that didn't need all of that stuff to be an artist. Yep. So, I mean, just really, to her, it's one of those things that hold on to this. And I tell her all of those things about when I was 8 and how important drawing was. I want her to be able to hold on to those things. It's got nothing to do with money. Sometimes money wrecks it. Sometimes people are just designed to draw for their own pleasure. I had to make the decision, because there was no way I was going to go work at Walmart. Just couldn't do it. Now, Walmart, that's somebody else's joy. That would not be my joy. That's all. I wanted to walk that back.
No, that makes good sense. You're not cut from that cloth, is all. It doesn't stoke your fire.
Everybody needs to do something.
I've got a brother. I've got 3 brothers, actually. I'm very fortunate. They're all healthy and prospering, and they're just wonderful, wonderful humans, and I'm proud to call them my friends. The one in particular is closest to me. We're almost like Irish twins. He's 14 months my junior. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. And he and I used to sit and draw dragsters and funny cars and gassers and things of that nature. And he really found his groove and came into his own. We had a father and a stepfather that were both woodworkers and antiquers and refurnishers of furniture and things of that nature. Well, my brother, this one I'm speaking of, picked up he's always been a musician and a guitarist. Well, he started building his own guitars. I might have shared that with you before, but super creative. And I watch the artwork that he does, and he locks himself up in these rooms, and he'll shoot paint, and he'll, order his pickups and his strings. And I had him custom build me a bass guitar. It's my cherished possession. And because it's got his fingerprints all over it, his heart and soul went into it. And, he's kind of come full circle in terms of just like you're saying you did, whereby he's all about his work. He's all about his faith and his family. So I just really that resonates with me to overuse a word of late, resonate. but the story you share does. And good job by you for raising that 11-year-old, calling you the rad dad, and looking to take over the keys to the kingdom before long. But that's going to be a ways away.
It's a ways away, and it's just. I'm an older dad. I've got 2 litters, right? I mean, I've got a boy.
2 litters.
I do. I got a boy who's 26 and married, and he's living abroad. And then I have my 2 younger ones. So I've already done this once. I'll have 36 years of doing this. And it's tiring, or it can be tiring. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It can be really tiring. But if I'm not leading my kids, somebody else is. So if I can sit at the table with her, I don't necessarily want to draw because I'm drawn out. Like that sounds kind of like a pun, but literally, I mean, my brain is applesauce by the end of the day, but I will sit with her and be with her while she draws. I am happy to sit with her, and then my youngest is a boy. And he's a critical thinker. He's my inner engineer. I was headed to be a civil engineer. That's a whole other story for another day, or maybe a story never to be told. But, it was just one day I left calculus because I'd rather be doing a flame job on a bike tank and just never look back. But he is that kid that stayed in calculus. But he is the kid that would probably like to be an IM because I could see him designing and building and doing something that was an outlet for him that people would find joy with. Like, I'm just saying, art is inside of everybody. As you and I are here hanging out, I might tell you, I really want you to come and take 14 days and check it out because I know that you smash on drums. You are a creative. You are. Music, poetry. I told one person, I said, one day there's going to be a live inside of there where a street poet is going to be freestyling while a musician is in the background throwing a beat and a mural artist is doing a mural all at the same time. And that's going to be that. My hope is that will be a normal Thursday night on IAIM. Wouldn't that be rad? Like, what? Oh yeah, that's normal. We do that all the time.
We just drop in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. How do folks find how do folks I want to become a member? How do I become a member?
Okay.
Application? Is there an application or?
No, there's
What's the process?
Okay, well, to get on to IAIM is, if you're a creative, if it's not your jam, it's not your jam. But it is just like the letters IAIM.mn.co. So IAIM.mn.co. And that will take people to the landing page, which is, call it a funnel, call it whatever you want. It's where you're doing your tap dancing and you're explaining to people as they're looking at it, like, we're so glad you're here. Get ready to turn it up to 11. And at the very, very top, I wrote my why because I know my why. And hopefully when people read that why, they're like, that's my why. And then they keep reading, down to the bottom. And then they have the opportunity to come in for the 2-week trial. And then join, after the 2-week trial, then it's a subscription base, but they have 2 weeks to be in there and build out. Right now, I've got a special going because I really want some fresh blood in there where I'm just offering 2 weeks period. At the end of those 2 weeks, they stand to lose all of their profile and everything because if they go to subscription base, I send them a link so that way they can stay. You got to pay to stay. But for other people, it'll be 2 weeks to kick the tires, and they'll be like, yeah, it's not my jam. I'll see you later.
And what's the rate?
The rate is not full price right now. The rate right now is $24.99 a month. So think about that. $24.99 a month is less than $1 a day, less than a pack of Hubba Bubba.
I got something. I'll tell you what. If I went through my applications and how many things, how many subscriptions I don't even look at anymore. It's probably surpassed that amount. So there you go, folks. So an introductory offer for $25 a 2-week trial.
$25.
Check it out.
Full rate. I'm still in Pioneer stage, and I'm going to leave it in Pioneer for the whole year.
Testing and right.
After that, it'll go up to $44.99. That's still cheap. What's a gym membership, right? What's a class? A couple days a week. You're going to pay that. What's a night out for supper? I mean, like when you think about $24.99, that's cheaper than a lunch, and you get a whole month of being with people that
like-minded folks. Yeah,
like-minded, but also they're there to get after it. And so, like when I talk about like having the chats open, I want people to get an ROI on that, and that's chump. I mean, $24, come on. But what I'm doing actually right now is with that free pass is just come in. But also if they stay, I'm going to give them a different rate. It'll be $19.99 a month, not $24. Here's the other cool thing. If they come in $24.99, they can buy a whole year annual for $249. That's 10 months. It means you're getting 2 months free.
There you go.
Yeah, easy math. So even the $19.99, that's $199 a year. That's $19.99 times 10 months.
So tell me, who are some of the folks that join you vocation wise, just to give the audience a taste?
I have one guy that is an industrial designer, and he works all CAD. He works with Jaguar. He works with what did he work with? He worked with Tesla. He worked with the new Bronco series. He's worked with all kinds. But inside of that community, he's just Dan. I got another guy. He's a principal designer for Stellantis. He did a lot of the interior work for the Hellcats. If anybody knows what a Hellcat is, you know what a Hellcat is.
The red eye.
The red eye. He's another guy. He's just Dan. I've got an artist out of Babylon, New York, a tattoo artist, mural artist, does the craziest stuff. I've got 3 of his originals hanging on my wall. He goes by Jim.
Fred.
I've got another guy who is a quadruple threat, in terms of he's a mural artist, he's a tattoo artist, he's an illustrator. What's the other thing? He does full body work in terms of not full body work, but if you were to bring in a hot rod, he would do everything, right? And that's Jeremy. And then I've got the other guy who's an artist out of Detroit area, and he's a mental health advocate, and he's going to be running his own community, like an artist retreat type thing. That's Rich. And there's more. There's a woman out in California, and she does fiberglass work, aftermarket fiberglass work, add-ons. She's a sculptor, right?
So folks from all walks of life. I mean, really.
Yeah, Brittany. Yeah, I've got another guy. He's a world champion ice carver. Like, seriously, it's all everywhere. I got this guy who loves Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he drums their stuff, and he wears Go Fast shirts.
And
to be continued.
His name's Bill, Dollar Bill.
Yeah, yeah. But it's one of those things that people come in and it's a plug and play. Everybody needs it for something different. Some people need it for rest. Some people need it for spitballing. Some people just need it for community. Some people use it for networking. That's what's beautiful about the community. I can't tell you what it's for because it's going to mean something different to you than it does.
And when do you all meet?
It's going on right now. It's 24 hours a day. I mean, it's live. You plug in anytime you want, and you can put something on the bulletin board, or you put something on the feed, or you put something in the brainstorm page. Like there are different pages for different things. And then we also have the community page where we're doing the bi-weekly lives. But it lives and breathes all the time. I might open up that community in the morning, and there might be 20 notifications in there because people just got busy and posted stuff or loved on other people's posts or whatever. And I sit back and I'm like, I love this house party because everybody's there for the right reasons. Because when you are, and there's all different levels of talent. That's what's also beautiful. But you'll never see somebody that's incredibly talented crap on someone who's trying to learn. It's the people that have never done anything that crap on the person that's trying to learn. Get it? Yeah. You never hear a millionaire picking on a startup guy. who you hear picking on a startup guy is the guy that never took a damn chance. And there's 4 words to failure. Will start tomorrow. That's 4 ways to fail. I'll start it tomorrow.
Listen, man,
right?
it's so easy to sit on the sidelines. It's so easy. How many of us, how many folks sit back and on the sidelines of the big screen and watch Netflix? That's being on the sidelines, living vicariously through another, scrolling at nauseum, and not just decaying inside. I'd rather be on the field, fumbling or striking out or whatever, but getting a taste and a smell of the grass, the turf, the bleachers on the sides, and everything else. So, yeah, I think it's a worthy objective, man. And congratulations for the endeavor and the effort to fill that void that you had.
It's exciting. Well, don't ignore it. And like whenever I think about Babe Ruth, or I think about you can't win the game in the bleachers, man, I encourage everybody, if you want like a fast read and then memorize it. I don't have it memorized, but Teddy Roosevelt's The Arena. Dude, it's all right there. Just pull up The Arena. Read it. I love it. And if he was around, if he were alive today, I'd be high-fiving him. Because it's like to know, there are so many people out there that don't know victory nor defeat because they've never taken the chance to even swing. And when he talks about that, it's basically like a story of a gladiator, The Arena. It's good reading.
Yeah, I've
of course you
poked around a little bit in there. It's good, really good stuff.
It's a good fight. At least you fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Because failing, those wounds heal. Regret from never doing anything, that doesn't heal. I was just having a conversation with somebody, and I looked up and I said, I'm 62 years old. I'm a grandfather, and if I do the math, I always equate it to a football game of 4 quarters. Well, I'm into the 4th quarter, right? Yeah.
Not for nothing. But how many Saturdays do I have left? If I on average live to be 76 or 86, whatever the hell it is, not many. So I need to get busy. I need to get after it. I need to get on my horse because that regret, leaving potential untapped is so sad. And you can interview folks and you can chat with people that have regrets, and it's just a shame. And there's no, we only have one, best we know of, we only have one stab at this, right? So really jump in, and I guess the other thing is that fear of failure, that feel of humility or humiliation, not humility, but humiliation. What if I do this and somebody laughs at me? Well, you know what? Again, it's like the millionaire looking down on the guy in the startup. He's not making fun of him. It's the other guy that's making fun of him who never got in a game. So I encourage myself, and I'm talking to me in particular right now.
Me too. You're talking to me too.
Got to go for it, and I really have. Since I've had that conversation and reflected on it, coincided with the new year, I've been balls to the wall, and I mean, I'm leaving nothing on the table. I'm leaving it all out on the field, and it feels wonderful, and I'm rejuvenated. And I love what you said about sobriety and the clarity. I love the clarity. That in and of itself is a drug, no?
It is. Sobriety became my drug of choice because it was another one of those things. I was living, and I had a real bad season in my life, right? And I could become a victim or I could become victorious. And becoming victorious means telling people you're broken and you need help. Now, I mean, I didn't end up in an AA or anything like that. I have brothers. I'm a Christian. I have brothers. And when I needed them for those particular seasons, I had people.
You leaned on them.
I have my community. You and I are community. You and I have a friendship on and off of this camera, right? No, but seriously, I could get ugly with you and you can get ugly with me in terms of Scott's a resource, and I think I could talk to him candidly about something, and I know that I can have that conversation. And on the receiving end, there should be this gratitude. Like I'm grateful you feel safe enough to.
I'm glad you trust me. Exactly.
That's right. And also, I want all these people that are watching this right now, please don't think for a second that we have it all together and we're just glued. We have very ugly days, but it's about understanding that every storm runs out of rain. And I'm still going to get up and I'm still going to swing because these storms build character. And I'm not, and they shouldn't make you cynical. And hopefully people, when they're hurting, you find a resource, find somebody to help you weather your storm. Right?
The rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. The wind is always blowing, right? What determines, Jim Rohn says, he says, what determines our success or failure in any endeavor is the set of the sail. Mm-hmm. So the wind is fierce, right? But how are we setting our sail? Are we going to fold up and collapse and sink, or are we going to use it to our advantage? So, well, that's a wonderful conversation, my brother. Always number 3, the trifecta, the three-peat. I love it.
Is it 3's a charm, 4's a charm, 12's a charm?
I'm telling you, we're going to have to get you back for sure. But
yeah, we'll have a podcast like in 20 years, sitting from the rocking chairs.
That's our legacy.
That's fine.
That's okay. I'm good with that.
Just all I can say is think of every day as a wet washcloth, and your job is to wring every drop of water out of it. Tomorrow you will be given, hopefully, you'll be gifted another wet washcloth. It'll be given to you interest-free, paid in full. You'll be given to you. But at the end of that day, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't buy that washcloth again. But tomorrow, again, if it's gifted to you, you get another wet washcloth. Paid in full, interest-free. What are we doing, right? And wring the water out of that. Everybody has the same 24 hours. And, you and I touched a bit on mental health. It's real. I can't speak to it enough that people need people. We're social creatures. We need that.
Much as I love solitude, I enjoy camaraderie. It's a weird, conundrum. But 1,440 minutes in a day, brother. A wet washcloth. Words of wisdom from Scott Fisk, owner, founder, Studio 669. Folks, I told you he was a visionary. He was energetic. He's got passion for days. Go seek him out on both studio669.net and over at IAIM. Check out that IAIM.co. Jump on
mn.co.
See that? And then you'll be glad you did, because once you get in there, you've got 2 weeks free. It's not a commercial, an infomercial, but I think that you'll be really stoked once you get in there. I'm going to go visit it myself and poke around, see who I can see, and look behind the curtain and all that kind of good stuff. And Scott, you are such a blessing and a treat to speak with, as always, my friend.
That was pretty rad.
Well, that's it for another episode of the Motivated Mindset Podcast, and you have been listening to Bobby Stein, your host again, and Scott Fisk. And we thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please, folks, as always, take good care and make sure you wring out that washcloth.
You've been listening to another episode of the Motivated Mindset Podcast with your host, Bobby Stein. Thank you for tuning in.
An IA is an independent artist. So if someone were to say to you, are you an IA? My reply is, I am.